Yo, it is 9 o'clock on this Tuesday, October 14th. I'm producer Chris. This is Tony P, and you are watching Live Zone Prime Time, the second ever episode. We are soft launching this week. If you're not familiar with the show, if you're not familiar with the Live Zone, it is an afternoon show we do here at Fox 5, streaming on YouTube and Fox Local. This week, we are just live on YouTube. We're kind of getting our sea legs, if you will. Tony P, you were talking about the Edmund Fitzgerald earlier today, so it's still in my brain.
Oh,
but
that is one of the greatest Good Lightfoot songs ever.
Our sea legs, as they say. So, taking a live look outside. That's a live picture from Annapolis right now. It has been a busy day, a more quiet night, but we're going to keep you up to date on everything that's happening throughout the course of the day. If it's live and if it's happening now, over the next 60 minutes, we will bring it to you. That is our promise. So we've got our eyes all over the place, trying to keep an eye on what's going on. This camera cycling through Wildwood, New Jersey as well. A cool night out there, 62 degrees on this October 14th, Tony P.
This is oddly relaxing and refreshing, watching it transition like that to different cities. You kind of feel like you're in a plane and you go in different parts of the country, kind of in your mind, you know?
And it's all up and down the East Coast.
Right,
all
look
those
at how
places
beautiful
that we love to visit.
I like Wilmington,
Delaware.
by the way.
Exactly.
Great hot dog place there, by the way.
If you don't know Tony P, if you are unfamiliar with Tony P, he has his own hot dog reviews he does on his social media. Listen, guys, you see that QR code on the bottom of the screen? That is how you join us live as well. You can scan that. It'll bring you right into our Zoom room. You can react to some of the stories we're talking about from the shutdown and beyond, or you can talk to us about what's going on where you live. We'll get to all of that coming up in just a second, though. First, though, I want to get to what Tony's watching on this Tuesday night.
Yes, sir. On this almost midway through October, my friends, we're getting close to the middle of the month.
Absolutely flying.
It's going by way
crazy,
too fast. The holidays are creeping up on us. That's my acting voice there. All right. So with that being said, serious time. Okay. So in shutdown land, what I call the Groundhog Day shutdown, the Senate has failed for the 8th time today to pass a clean government funding bill, keeping the shutdown alive as we head into almost week 3. The IRS confirmed tonight that despite the closures, the October 15th tax deadline sadly still stands for us. No automatic extensions will be offered at this time. A bipartisan group of moderates, though, is floating a 2-week stopgap bill to reopen the government while negotiations continue on the ACA subsidies and Medicaid. But if that effort collapses by Friday, experts warn that we could see federal courts halt operations, food and safety inspections delayed, and a ripple effect across paychecks and services nationwide. Now, in the Middle East, the Trump-brokered Gaza ceasefire is showing cracks tonight. So far, only 8 of the promised deceased hostages' bodies have been returned to Israel at this time, despite a 72-hour deadline. The Red Cross says ongoing fighting and collapsed tunnels are slowing recovery efforts as well as rubble, while Israel accuses Hamas of stalling and has threatened to cut humanitarian aid if compliance doesn't resume. The delays are raising doubts about the stability of the broader peace plan, which depends on mutual trust before demilitarization potentially can begin. Off Venezuela's coast today, the U.S. confirmed another naval strike on a suspected drug trafficking vessel, killing 6 people. It's the 5th such attack in recent weeks, part of the ongoing White House's call to crack down on narco terror. But Venezuela has condemned the move, calling it a violation of sovereignty and requesting an emergency UN Security Council session. We'll see how that goes, producer Chris. The IMF, though, today raised its U.S. growth forecast to 1.9% and global growth back to 3.2%, crediting resilient consumer spending and steady job growth. Still, it warned of rising debt and trade tension risk could trigger what it calls a disorderly market condition. That's quite the phrase for you. And finally, in pop culture tonight, Charlie XCX is drawing headlines for criticizing the boom in pop culture tour documentaries following Taylor Swift's announcement of the Eras Tour, the final show, and a behind-the-scenes Disney Plus series, The End of an Era, set to debut December 12th. Charlie called the genre too polished and too predictable, and teased her own 2026 mockumentary, The Moment, which will parody fame culture and creative burnout. Meanwhile, the music world is mourning today at the death of D'Angelo, the Grammy-winning soul icon behind Voodoo and Black Messiah, passed away today at the age of 51 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. Tributes from around the world were pouring in from artists like Jill Scott, Nile Rodgers, and Tyler, the Creator. So tonight, producer Chris, that is the rundown from Tony P.
Yeah, and that is a huge loss for the music world. Obviously, the tributes have been pouring in from
legend
across, an absolute legend, and a Virginia native.
That's right, and I'll tell you, here in the DMV area, he'll be missed and around the world. I mean, his music truly just the melodies, just think about the beats here.
The music,
just truly smooth.
The music,
Best.
but I also have to give credit to the music video for how does that feel, because if you've seen it, you absolutely know it. It was one of the most simple videos of all time.
Yep.
Basically him just naked from the waist up, but it is one of the most watchable and most memorable music videos of all time. So a huge, huge loss for the music world, and of course, keep his family, his loved ones in our thoughts and prayers.
I mean, him, and we had, of course, the Oscar winner and just incredible actress, Diane Keaton, who died as well this past weekend. Diane Keaton and D'Angelo, I can't handle this much in a week, my friend. And I'll tell you, I mean, the pancreatic cancer, and I've had family that has been afflicted with it. It is truly just a horrible, horrible predicament, and we have to find a way to cure that, because, I mean, just some cancers are curable, but this one, if you get it, it's really an uphill climb. So just, big prayers to his family and to him. An incredible life impacting millions of people around the world.
Gone too soon. All right, Tony, I do want to get to some of the breaking news that we are following tonight. This out of Los Angeles tonight. Los Angeles County officials voted tonight to declare a state of emergency that gives them power to provide assistance for residents they say have suffered financially from ongoing federal immigration raids. So this move also allows the LA County Board of Supervisors to provide rent relief for tenants who have fallen behind as a result of the crackdown on immigrants. A local state of emergency can also funnel state money for legal aid and other services. This move comes after the Trump administration ramped up immigration raids in Los Angeles County over the summer. Obviously, this has been one of those stories that people have been following for months. And also, it goes far beyond Los Angeles, obviously, because there is the ongoing fight and debate over what is happening with the National Guard in certain cities. Earlier today in Chicago, if you didn't see this, there was some clashes between residents, neighbors, and ICE agents in the streets involving tear gas. So we'll have much more on that.
It's incredibly unsafe out there right now. And what's interesting is when you look at the field of play, you're seeing from the administration using a lot of, I would say, archaic laws or kind of like technical measures to either fire federal workers or to invoke the Insurrection Act or to even do these type of really intense and scary raids for so many people. And to conduct what a lot of folks are claiming is unlawful behavior. What's interesting now is seeing kind of more on the other side of it, more liberal-led cities, what they're doing with their policy, state of emergency. Is that going to be a policy playbook that we'll see across the country as we go forward? Because, well, they use state of emergencies to provide legal aid for residents or to provide kind of like a stopgap measure for folks that may not want to go to work because they've been making arrests. ICE been making arrests at Home Depots and places of business and farms at one point as well. Is that going to be part of justification? It's going to be interesting watching both of these sides kind of, use their kind of like the legal background, the technical stuff to see if they can advance, their overall goals. But it is getting incredibly scary out there. We're seeing, of course, ICE going to Portland, Oregon and things of that nature with, the standoffs outside of ICE facilities. It is not a good time right now. It's very, very tough to watch.
All right, well, we will keep an eye on that story as well. In the meantime, I do want to bring things back home right now because you may have seen this story on air all night tonight. We've been talking about it, this fire, this 2-alarm fire in Fairfax County, the Lorton, Virginia portion of Fairfax County. 7 people in the hospital, one of them in critical condition after that massive 2-alarm fire at a scrap yard in the Lorton area of Fairfax County. Like I mentioned, this was all breaking news we were following all afternoon over on Fox 5. The response shut down Richmond Highway for the entire afternoon.
My goodness.
And part of the evening. Absolutely wild pictures from Sky Fox earlier tonight. Fox 5's Nanasen Tuobansu out covering this for us. She is following this story for us tonight. Reports that Route 1 has since reopened, so hopefully no major traffic issues for the rest of the night and the morning commute tomorrow. Sky Fox over the scene, like I mentioned, moments after the flames ripped through the back of the property just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Leaders with Fairfax County Fire and Rescue say that when crews arrived, they noticed the scrap metal pile burning. That's what you're seeing right there. And an employee trapped in a crane right above it. Firefighters climbed a tower to rescue that person. They were rushed to the hospital in critical condition. 6 other people, including a firefighter, taken for treatment as well. For hours, those crews from different departments in the area worked to put out this fire, finally contained around 5 this evening. We're told more than 220 firefighters responded. Fire leaders say putting out the fire was challenging, especially factoring all of the toxic materials. However, they are assuring the community that air quality, all the air quality readings are currently within normal levels. I want to take you back now to the press conference that happened right around 4:30 this afternoon. Take a listen.
So the fire and rescue department responded around 1 p.m. today to a report of an outside fire here in the 9,000 block highway. The initials discovered a scrap metal debris pile that was on fire and actively burning. The area was a couple hundred yards square in size and was contained in the back side of the property. Initial units found or were encountered with one victim, a worker from the facility who was trapped on a crane elevated about 40 feet in the air. Our initial units were able to climb that tower, access the person, and utilizing some of our aerial device effect or rescue, removing that individual from the crane. He was airlifted to an area hospital where he's currently under treatment. We encountered a large fire, obviously, as a scrap metal facility. There are not a lot of hydrants in the back area of the property, so it was necessary for us to establish a water supply. Required a lot of resources. We ended up bringing up the equivalent of 4 alarms worth of apparatus to the fire and approximately 225 personnel operating this afternoon. Right now the fire is contained and we're in the process of delayering the material. It's obviously a very deep pile, so it's going to take some time to delayer that fire or those burning materials, and we'll be delayering and cooling them for a couple hours this evening.
What do you know about what might have caused this fire?
The cause of the fire is undetermined at this time and is under investigation by our county fire investigators who are here on scene. So we used a combination of water and foam due to the properties and how we needed to contain the fire and our strategy to ultimately thin and delayer this pile. So we applied foam initially to contain the fire, and now we're delayering it using water to cool the materials.
Can you explain how this fire was difficult? It sounds like difficult to fight being that scrap metal. What kind of accelerants that they ran into?
So in any case, these types of fires, it's metal, plastics, rubber. There's a variety of material that contained in these piles. The facility is very good in fact that they have containment ponds and facilities to help control water runoff, and the facility itself is prepared for an event. However, when we do have this fire, it's just time consuming. It's very different than a residential fire where we have a fixed house. As an example, you go into a structure, we basically have to pull this fire apart piece by piece in order to extinguish it.
When you say delayer, is that what you mean? Can you just explain that in more than layman's terms?
Absolutely. Delayering is a process of using an excavator or a crane to take each part of the pile apart and basically take it from a stacked pile to a large horizontal layer where we can apply water directly to the material. I do not have any information.
Talk a little more about the. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Chief, can you talk a little bit more about the rescue? What was involved there? Rescue out of the crane.
So one of our initial arriving engine companies climbed the ladder that accesses the crane itself. They were able to reach the occupant of the crane. At that time, he was reported as unconscious. So he was in a serious condition. They packaged him and were able to lower him utilizing one of our aerial ladders when it arrived on scene. So leveraging our tower ladders, we were able to play bucket higher remove the Vic to that bucket and take them to the ground.
So last check we heard 7 people total injured, including one girl. Which department was the firefighter who was injured, and what is their condition?
So the firefighter injury, the firefighter is stable. He's been treated at an area hospital. He was associated with the Fort Belvoir Fire Department. Yes.
You know the nature was the chief problem that led to the transport.
We actually can't comment on that at this point, but hopefully more updates should be coming.
Talking to the board, I don't think it should be too for us. It's just the nature of this smoke. I mean, is this sort of more hazardous than your regular house fire smoke? You know, county put out this advisory that people stay in their houses.
Yeah. To the PO's process, we can't comment to the medical, but this was a very challenging event. It required all of our firefighters wearing contained breathing apparatus, our SCBA, on the exterior. That's something we generally really only wear on the interior of a fire or immediately adjacent. Essentially, if you can envision this entire property behind us, we had firefighters on breathing air the entire time. It's toxic smoke in the sense that it's a byproduct of plastics and metals and rubbers and whatnot, but it is dissipated into the air, and obviously the wind direction changing, it's distributed that across the scene a couple of different ways.
Was the wind itself a challenge?
The wind was a challenge in the fact that, as you see, we're positioned here. We initially positioned closer to the fire, but the wind kept changing direction and making it very difficult for us to operate immediately in that area. So we've had to back out. We had to back out of that immediate area due to the thickness and the density of the smoke. You couldn't really see well.
Checking the hydrants, is this all over here? There are none back there even?
There are no hydrants behind us on the property. They're all along Route 1.
Is that typical at a big industrial site like this, or do you sometimes have hydrants in the property?
On a facility like this, they have fire control measures in place, but it's not necessarily fire hydrants, right? So they're moving large pieces of equipment, apparatus, debris on the property. Hitting a fire hydrant would be dangerous, but obviously to the water system. But they do have facilities, ponds, retention ponds on the facility. And while it is a challenge to get back there, we do have a plan to lay these supply lines in. It just takes us a little bit of time.
Question, you said the person who was trapped on the crane was one of the facility workers. Do you know how many people were working here around the time the fire broke out?
I do not have that information at this time.
Where were the other victims in relation to the fire? Were they right near the track area of the building? They just taken precaution?
The bulk of the victims that were identified were in the general area, the lower area of the fire. Again, the smoke was so dense and encompassed the property, it overcame the wind. The wind basically pushed the smoke down to the ground instead of lifting it as we would normally see a big column of smoke in the air. So that exposed a lot of people initially to the smoke on the property.
And I think it's going to be too early, like some of the workers were speculating it might have been a lithium battery or something EV related, too early to even guess at that.
Yeah, I have no information on that.
And is the recycling yard the only problem? Like this is the whole property, or is there another business right here? That's the whole.
I believe this is the only business on this property.
I was told there's a prediction that there's a vehicle scrapped up back there. There's just a scrap pile of vehicles, cranes, other things.
I can't comment specifically what was in the pile because it was on fire and we didn't get that close. But that'll be part of our investigation and will be released with our investigative report.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to make my way up that hill. Can I get a quick summary, please? I'm so sorry.
We can work with you.
On the side?
Yeah, we can work with you on the side. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, so that was from earlier this afternoon. That fire still under investigation. No word on a cause yet. Fox 5's Nana Sentua Bonsu will have much more on this coming up at 10 and 11 here on Fox 5, Tony.
Just absolutely devastating. And this is the second fire that we've seen like this. We saw the explosion in Tennessee at a factory just last week. And looking at both of these, and just it's a violent scene. Looking like how this just the fire and just it's incredibly scary to watch. And I just prayers to the families of the injured, and also the I think it's one or two people that sadly deceased, and just prayers to them. But
no word yet.
Oh, no word yet. No word yet. Okay, no. Okay,
Seven in the hospital.
Got it. I want to make sure.
Word yet.
Okay, good. Thank you for the clarification. But looking at that, I mean, is this a question of an environmental issue, like where these buildings are located? Is it a fire policy issue? Are there systems that are not properly, properly happening or coming on, if you will? Is this a potential safety issue in terms of like the regulations aren't being kept up with by the businesses? Is it not enough regulations on fire suppression? Are the systems older? Like when you see these type of things popping up, and again, it can impact traffic, it can have impacts that are long-term, whether it be from all the debris and the toxins that are being released into the air, rubber and different, pieces of metal. That can be very, very, traumatic, not just for the residents, but for the firefighters doing their job. So,
And I
like,
will say,
what's the change that needs to happen here?
Nana is reporting that if you believe you are exposed to the fire or smoke or have any respiratory irritation, you can call 911. A neighbor did also tell Fox 5 that this is not the first fire at this property. Nana talked to the deputy chief. He did confirm that they have had fires on the property in the past. But like I said, the cause of this fire under investigation. So we will stay on top of this.
Of course.
In the meantime, we'll have much more on this coming up on Fox 5. Like I said, in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. It's just about 21 minutes after the hour. Coming up on the other side of the break, we are going to talk all about the shutdown. Now, 2 weeks notice on this shutdown. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Live Zone Prime Time on this Tuesday night. Tony, we like to talk about what's live and local and happening right now. What's happening right now is the Washington Capitals are playing the Tampa Bay Lightning at Capital One Arena, and it is all tied up. So sorry if this is a spoiler alert, but it's all tied up 2-2 with just about 10.5 minutes to go in the third period. I know Annie Mae probably hoping that the Caps are going to score real soon and not go overtime because she's got to be at work bright and early in the morning. But
1 hour of sleep if they go to double overtime. May God bless her.
She does it so well. If you don't know Annie Mae, our morning traffic person, and one of the in-house hosts for the Washington Capitals. So she stays busy, that is for sure.
She does. All those games are fun to watch, by the way, like the different races they'll have on the ice, or like the different T-shirt tosses. I mean, I go to a lot of games. It is really entertaining.
Yes, it is.
And,
all right.
we need a victory because we're coming off a loss last night last minute of the game, a game-winning field goal.
Washington Commanders.
Last minute, like it was last year, but against us this
to
time.
the Bears, exactly.
Just devastating. Fumbles, too many.
Too many fumbles. All right, let's talk about the other big story tonight, and
Yes.
that is,
Oh,
of
boy.
course, the shutdown. 2 weeks notice, day 14 of the shutdown. We have officially hit that 2-week notice portion. The Senate held its 8th vote, like you mentioned earlier tonight,
Sure
Tony,
did.
to reopen the government. However, that did not go according to plan as usual. It failed once again. They're due to be back in session 10 a.m. tomorrow, but we are not expecting any update anytime soon. Now, the White House is warning there could be more layoffs on the way. Take a look at the latest post from the Office of Management and Budget earlier today, making every preparation to batten down the hatches and ride out the Democrats' intransigence, pay the troops, pay law enforcement, continue the RIFs, and wait. Tony, remind me what RIFs is?
Reduction in force.
Reduction in force. That's those mass layoffs
worst
that
three
they
letters
have
you want
been
to hear.
threatening. Meanwhile, GOP leaders on Capitol Hill still refuse to budge. Today we heard from both House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We also heard from lawmakers across the DMV. We heard from air traffic controllers as well. We also got an update on a major event at the National Zoo scheduled for this weekend. We'll have that for you in just a second. First, though, we're going to start with the House Speaker.
Welcome to day 14 of the Democrat government shutdown. It's 2 weeks of Democrats in Congress inflicting untold pain on the American people for nothing other than pure politics, as we've explained at this podium every day of the shutdown. Today, Senate Democrats will have their 8th chance to end this mess by passing our clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution, the government funding bill that would end all of this immediately. Over 3 weeks ago, the House passed that bill, and you all know the details of it. It is completely clean. There are no policy changes, no partisan riders, no gimmicks or tricks at all. All it does is keep the lights on at the current funding levels for a few extra weeks while we complete the normal appropriations process. Now compare that to the Democrats' counterproposal. They're demanding $1.5 trillion in new spending paid for by American taxpayers. And I want you to be specific. I want us to be specific. I want you to note what that counterproposal includes, because we've not yet gone into all the details of it, because it's large and very absurd. But here's some of the highlights of this. It would reverse common sense reforms that Republicans made in the Working Families Tax Cut that keep illegal aliens off taxpayer-funded health care. This is a fact. Page 57, section 2141 of their counterproposal, as we've been posting everywhere. And it would, they would add the illegal aliens, non-citizens, back to taxpayer-funded benefits. It would cost taxpayers nearly $200 billion. They would also remove a very reasonable and modest work requirement that we put on able-bodied young men with no dependents. As we've said, they should not be riding the wagon and taking Medicaid. That is intended for vulnerable populations, the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, for example, and not young able-bodied men without dependents who are playing video games. We put that into the law because it's common sense. Their counterproposal would reverse that. So taxpayers would be funding them again. They would make in their counterproposal permanent COVID-era Obamacare subsidies without any income caps or any other reforms at all. They would make that permanent. That would cost taxpayers an estimated $358 billion. They would take away the $50 billion that we put into the law to support rural hospitals. They would remove that. And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI+ democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa. and $2 million for, quote, organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa. We are not doing that. These are unserious proposals from unserious people, and they are playing games while real Americans are being harmed adversely by the shutdown. Yesterday, I read you an excerpt from President Obama's speech during the 2013 shutdown when he advocated for a clean CR to reopen the government and resume negotiations. It sounded very familiar. Democrats cheered him on back then, including Chuck Schumer. He himself said some Republicans' refusal to support a clean CR back then was, quote, the politics of idiocy. Take him at his word. So yesterday we decided to do a little count of the number of times that Chuck Schumer has supported continuing resolutions just since he became the leader of the Democrats in the Senate in 2017. That number came out to 29 out of 30 continuing resolutions. That's how many times he wholeheartedly, enthusiastically supported CRs enacted into law. That's a 97% support rate. What's changed? Well, this time his job is on the line. And we've explained this very clearly because everybody can see the obvious political motivation here behind his decision to shut the government down right now. He helped us avert a shutdown in March by doing the right thing and supporting virtually the identically same continuing CR that we're offering today. And his radical base went crazy, and they haven't forgiven him for it. That's why Chuck Schumer is opposed to it today. That's what changed. It's very obvious. This government shutdown is plainly and simply an exercise in image rehabilitation. This is an attempt at image rehabilitation for Chuck Schumer. So selfishly, completely about himself, he is shutting the government down to hurt other people. He needs to show a fight against President Trump so he can keep his left base happy through the next election cycle. How do we know that? Well, his record shows the obvious truth about it. Again, look at the numbers. Chuck Schumer supported CRs to help avert a government shutdown 29 out of 30 times as leader of his party. And he emphatically supported every single CR enacted into law since 2017, except for one. And of course, you won't have to do much research to figure out who was in the White House during that time. If you said Donald Trump, you'd be right. And it doesn't take a genius to see that's exactly the same reason why he's doing this causing these antics today. So what you'll also notice about the CRs is that they've become routine. It's the routine thing to do around here. It's Washington's bad habit. And a CR was meant to be a temporary measure, is meant and designed to just keep the government open and funded for the people while Congress finishes its work on a final budget. And that's not happened in a long time. CRs have become too common. It's the status quo. It's not the way the founders intended for this process to work. The appropriations process was envisioned to be an exercise in good stewardship. They wanted the members of Congress to have open, transparent, bipartisan, line-by-line debate so that we could spend the people's money wisely. And that's precisely what Republicans are so eager to return to and what we have achieved. We are pushing that boulder uphill, as I've said, and for the first time since 2019, both chambers, House and Senate, have made real progress towards that stewardship goal. But we just need a little more time to finish it. That's the only thing the House-passed CR does. It's a clean, short-term, nonpartisan continuance of funding so that that process can work out. Now, you've all heard Chuck Schumer demand that Republicans have to come to the negotiating table. Well before, this is an important answer to some of the questions that I anticipate you'll ask later because it comes up in every press conference. Why won't you negotiate? Here's the point. We were already doing that. Before the Democrats recklessly shut down the government for their own political purposes, Republicans and Democrats were already engaged in responsible, open, bipartisan processes to find answers to these problems. And what Chuck Schumer means when he says that he wants us to negotiate is that he is demanding, and he said it publicly, I can't believe he says the quiet parts out loud sometimes, but he wants a backroom deal. He wants a backroom deal that the American people will never see. He literally has said, we need the top 4 leaders to go into a room and work this out. Why does Chuck Schumer say that? Because that's how he's operated for decades. He's been in Congress since 1980. I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer got here, okay? He is the broken status quo. We are trying to break the status quo so government works better for the people. And Chuck Schumer is resistant to that because he can't even imagine the way the founders intended for this to work. He didn't want this open, everybody involved, all members, bottom-up process. He wants 4 people to go in a back room and just make this deal and hoist it down upon everybody else. I'm not participating in that. Chuck Schumer doesn't like that. He doesn't like that we're trying to get Washington to work again because he doesn't know how to operate in that kind of system. And we're certainly not going to allow the American people to be taken hostage for his political gain.
This is day 14 of the Trump Republican shutdown. House Democrats and Senate Democrats remain committed to finding a bipartisan path forward to reopen the government, enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people and addresses the Republican health care crisis. The American people know that Republicans have shut the government down because of their unwillingness to provide health care to everyday Americans, working class Americans, and middle class Americans. The Republicans have created a health care crisis that is devastating people all across the country. Working class America, rural America, urban America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities all throughout America. That Republican healthcare crisis includes, but is not limited to, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing all throughout the country because of what Republicans did in their one big ugly bill. The country faces a possible $536 billion cut to Medicare if Congress doesn't act by the end of this year. The Republicans continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to result in tens of millions of Americans experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. All across the country, including, most significantly, in states that Donald Trump won, and Republicans could care less. House Republicans canceled votes 2 weeks ago, canceled votes last week, canceled votes this week. House Republicans are on vacation, House Democrats are on duty here in Washington, D.C., ready to reopen the government, ready to support our troops and hardworking federal civil servants, and ready to address the Republican healthcare crisis that is crushing people all across the country in an environment where the cost of living is already too high because of failed Republican policies like the Trump tariffs.
That was House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and House Speaker Mike Johnson. In the meantime, another major impact of the government shutdown. Tony P., Boo at the Zoo is officially canceled. Unfortunately for all of the fans who like to celebrate Halloween with the animals, it was scheduled for this weekend. It's officially canceled amidst the government shutdown. Special event ticket holders and parking pass holders have been notified. They will either receive a refund or they can choose to donate the cost of their order in support of animal conservation. The Night of the Living Zoo, which is scheduled for next weekend, is still on at this time, but that may end up getting canceled as well. So
yeah,
not a major shock, unfortunately, but I know a lot of disappointed kids out there and families who are looking forward to
They
celebrating.
can't just push that back, like
know,
you
right?
know, put both of them in with Live at the Zoo. What was the other one you were talking about? There was Boo at the Zoo. And
Night of the Living
Night of the
Zoo.
Living Zoo. Put those two together, maybe make it one big day. That is, like that looks like so much fun. I didn't even know that existed. I've been here for 3 years. That is sad. So, I mean, this is feeling like Groundhog Day, speaking of animals, every day. Just this it's the same thing. Speaker Johnson says something, same exact talking points. We go right to Minority Leader Jeffries. Maybe they're changing an inflection by both men, but it's the same package and same things, just with added context and new details. It is like recycled TV that you don't want to watch. And we're in day 14, and from what I'm seeing, especially today, again, not only did Chuck Schumer mention this, but we're looking at some of the developments from Burgess Everett on Twitter, a great reporter here in D.C., and he mentioned that Minority Whip Senator Durbin said that Thune, Johnson, Schumer, and Jeffries and Trump all should get together ASAP to meet and really get this thing to a close. It's time for us to sit down and resolve this, according to Minority Whip Dick Durbin, who's retiring at the end of 2026.
That's right.
And he also said that Dems are not going to change their votes at this time. And he says, you know, to go to the House CR, it is not going to happen. He doesn't believe that it's going to happen at this point. So I have not seen this level of digging in. Usually when I'm on X, I'm seeing, you know, Jake Sherman, you know, one of the great reporters here in DC at Punchbowl, others from here at Fox 5, all talking about, well, behind the scenes they're making some moves, or they're making progress, or we're getting close to something that looks like something. We don't even have that. Like, it is a pure stalemate. There is no buts. There's nothing here. I mean, as Speaker Johnson was saying, this could be the longest shutdown, even going beyond the 2018, 2019 shutdown. And don't forget,
that lasted like 35
yeah,
days, right?
And don't forget, we were going into the new year. We had a new Congress coming in at that time, post the 2018 elections. You had the holiday season in between that. So that kind of had like an artificial growth, if you will, or kind of artificial lift from just the time you were in at that moment. But this could be purely 30, 40, maybe 50 days of a pure shutdown, no holidays in between. This could be really, really bad and can impact so many federal workers that are dealing with this, having to pay their mortgage, their rent. Right. How are we going to, you know, get through this?
Hit
and
another
again,
deadline tomorrow, October
right,
15th.
Payments.
That's right.
I mean, who's going to get paid? I mean, the Treasury Department is mentioned they might do payments, but there's a legal issue. Like, can they actually prioritize those payments to be made to the troops? And there's going to be a lot of legal issues. Unions are starting to sue about the firings in the RAF program. This is not going to be resolved just by the shutdown ending. There's going to be a lot of fallout from, do the payments actually get made? Are the RAFs constitutional? This is a storm that's happening right now.
Yeah. Senate back in session at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Obviously, even if they do agree on a continuing resolution, they are literally just kicking the can down the road. We'll have much more on this, obviously, tomorrow, tonight on the Fox 5 News at 10 and 11. In the meantime, before we head to break, I do want to get a quick update on a little bit of breaking news that we are following just into the Fox 5 newsroom. So according to the Metropolitan Police Department, they got a call for a stabbing along the 1700 block of East Street Northeast a little earlier this evening, just about 1 hour ago. One adult male suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Police tell Fox 5 that this was possibly domestic in nature. We'll stay on top of it. We'll bring you updates as we get them. In the meantime, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have more from today's Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony for Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Prime Time on this Tuesday night, the second night of our launch. Thanks so much for staying with us. We're coming up on about 15 minutes before the hour, and we want to take you to the White House now because, Tony, there was a big ceremony there today, the first one of these in President Trump's second term. He handed out the Presidential Medal of Freedom to the late Charlie Kirk. So I want to take you back. We're going to let you listen in to some of the president's comments, and then we're going to listen to some of the late Charlie Kirk's widow's comments.
When you confront them, they immediately fold. You have to see them fold. You have to see them crying. They fold. But it includes dismantling the networks that fund them and finance them, and we're finding out who those networks are. We already know quite a few of them. When you see these violent incidents and then you see people holding this gorgeous sign with beautiful wood, beautiful cardboard, wood, everything's perfect paint job, and they're all the same. There are thousands of them. You know that they weren't made in the basement out of love. They were made by anarchists, and in some cases wealthy. I'll probably find some of my nice friends that are up there being so nice to me, especially lately. They're being very nice. But it surprises you who they may be, and you almost wonder why would they do it? But they're hurting our country, and we're really taking it back one by one. If we didn't go into Los Angeles early on in the administration, the commissioner, the chief of police, Los Angeles, said if they didn't go in, we would have lost our city. Now, they already lost 25,000 houses to fire because they wouldn't let the water come in from the Pacific Northwest, which they should have done. I said, you better do it. They didn't do it, and we had 25,000 homes where they had no water in the sprinklers, they had no water in the fire hydrants. It would have been a different kind of a thing if he did what they were supposed to do. We had to break in. We broke in and had the water come down. They said for the environment, great, they lost 25,000 houses. It's incredible. But the commissioner said without the federal government and President Trump's intervention, we would have lost the entire city. And we have the Olympics going there soon. I got the Olympics. We have the Olympics. We have the World Cup. And we have, most importantly, we have the 250th anniversary of our country. It's going to be most important. And all of these things are happening. And we're going to have safe cities. We're going to have very, very safe cities. So 1 month after Charlie's death, we still feel the terrible shock and the pain of his loss like just about nobody I can think of. Charlie Kirk was one of a kind. He was unstoppable. And he really was. Boy, when he had an idea in his head, he would call me, sir, please, you haven't done it yet. I said, Charlie, relax. Just relax. He didn't relax. He'd call me the next day again. It got it done. But he was like indomitable and always will be. He's really irreplaceable. Nobody can replace him. But they're going to do great. But you can't replace that kind of person and that kind of talent, frankly. The word talent is an important word, but that kind of talent. So we hold his memory in our hearts forever. Every single day of this administration, we will continue to carry out the mission for which he lived, and he really did. He lived for this country. He lived for his wife and his family, but he lived for this country too. In Charlie's honor, we will continue like we have been to fight, and to win. We're going to win so much. So the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a big deal. You have the Congressional Medal of Honor, military, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is civilian. And the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a really big deal. Very few people get it. Very few people, frankly, qualify. It's a decision of the president, but it's a qualification that's a very hard one to get. And I would like to ask, if I might, the military aide to read Charles James Kirk's citation for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to Charles James Kirk. Accepting on behalf of Charlie is his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk was one of the most influential American political figures of his generation. At just 18 years old, he founded Turning Point USA and grew it into the largest conservative youth organization in the nation. For over a decade, he tirelessly traveled the country leading a movement to restore respect for our founding principles, reawaken our national identity, and inspire a renewed spirit of religious devotion. He was one of the great debaters and communicators of his time. Despite receiving repeated threats, he remained undeterred and modeled courage, logic, humor, and grace to the next generation. On September 10th, 2025, at age 31, Charlie Kirk was assassinated while addressing a group of students. The United States honors him as a martyr for truth and freedom.
Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my husband in such a profound and meaningful way. And thank you for making this event a priority amid the peace process in the Middle East. Thank you. Very grateful. Charlie always admired your commitment to freedom, and that's something that both of you shared. So thank you. Your support of our family and the work that Charlie devoted his life to will be something I cherish forever, so thank you. To our gracious First Lady in her office for making this event possible, thank you as well. It's beautiful. To Vice President and the lovely Usha fans, your friendship has been an unbelievable encouragement. Thank you. And to all our friends and family that are here and watching from all around the world, thank you for loving us. Thank you for praying for us and for believing in what Charlie believed in. And to our Turning Point USA staff and the Charlie Kirk Show staff, we love you more than you could ever know. And to the Turning Point USA chapters that are watching all across America right now, you are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure. It will. And today we're gathered not only to celebrate Charlie's birthday, but to honor a truth that he gave his entire life to defend, and that's freedom. The very existence of the Presidential Medal of Freedom reminds us that the national interest of the United States has always been freedom. Our founders etched it into the preamble of our Constitution, and those words are not relics on parchment. They are a living covenant. The blessings of liberty are not man's invention, they are God's endowment. Charlie lived for those blessings, not as abstract words, but as sacred promises. He used to love to journal about this topic all the time, and with such a heart postured of gratitude. And he believed that liberty was both a right and a responsibility. And he used to say, freedom is the ability to do what is right without fear. And that's how he lived. he was free from fear. He was free from compromise, free from anything that could enslave his soul. His name, Charles, literally means free man. And that's exactly who my husband was. He was a free man. And from the time I met him, sitting across from him, being interviewed on politics and philosophy and theology, anything that Charlie loved, any topic he loved. And I just saw the fire in his soul, and there was this divine restlessness within him that came from knowing God placed him on this earth to protect something very, very sacred for all of us. And he never stopped fighting for people to experience freedom. He didn't. Charlie often said that without God, freedom becomes chaos. And he believed liberty could only survive when anchored to truth. And I remember in one of his speeches, he told the audience that the opposite of liberty isn't law. He said it's captivity. And that the freest people in the world are those whose hearts belong to Christ. But what's so powerful is that Charlie had the ability to communicate so brilliantly across all generations. And he reminded us that in a world that tells us freedom is doing whatever you want to do, the real freedom is the power to live freely and to do what is right. And in one of his journal entries, he wrote that he wanted everyone to know that you can't have liberty without moral responsibility.
All right, you've been listening to Erica Kirk accepting that Presidential Medal of Freedom on behalf of her late husband. That took place at the White House earlier today. You can catch her entire remarks and the president's entire remarks. We have them on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page if you want to tune in over there, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the words from Erica Kirk, I mean, everybody remembers it was about a month ago now or 3 weeks ago when she publicly forgave the man who shot and killed her husband. Yep. And it was a moment that was of bipartisan praise. And it was a truly beautiful moment as someone who is Catholic and Christian. That moment of forgiveness is not easy. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That was a very, very beautiful moment. Mm-hmm. When you look at Erica Kirk's role, and she is starting to, take on that role as CEO and leader of Turning Point USA and all the chapters. That is a move that she is doing at the moment, and all the events that are planned for the later fall, as well as the December. I think it's Turning Point Fest. Don't quote me on the title. That will be all rocking and rolling come December, as Erica Kirk takes on those duties as CEO. So. That's a lot of things happening with this, and today the Medal of Freedom ceremony happening on Charlie Kirk's birthday to symbolize this moment. And it's been, his death has really opened up a conversation about political discourse, civility, and political violence, and how we handle that going forward.
Yeah, and that Presidential Medal of Freedom, America's highest civilian honor, created back in 1963
That's right.
by President John F. Kennedy for individuals who make exceptional contributions to the United States and beyond. Just a reminder, you can catch the full ceremony on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. Listen, we promised that we would get you an update on the Caps game. They pulled it out in the end, 3-2.
Regulation?
3-2, the final in overtime.
Annie Mae will not be having 1 hour of sleep.
Yeah, so hopefully she gets a little bit of extra sleep. Thank you to everybody who joined us tonight on this Live Zone Primetime, this second ever episode of the Live Zone Primetime. Just a reminder, the show very much a work in progress.
Yes.
We're going to keep making tweaks over the course of the next week and change. But if you guys are watching, if you have any suggestions, if you have any feedback, if you have any suggestions, anything you want to see, let us know. Just hit us up. Tony P. You can find him everywhere. Tony P. Tell the people how to find you.
So you can find me on social media on multiple platforms. My main platforms on Instagram, _Tony P in DC, or my fan account, the Beehive. You can also find me on YouTube pages. Yeah, it's an interesting page. My YouTube page is It's Tony P, as well as my new Substack is It's Tony P. Also _Tony P in DC on TikTok as well. So there's a lot
of working man.
Just trying to expand the reach a little bit. And also you can find me here on Fox 5. So
that's right.
All linear, streaming, short form, long form. You're going to find me everywhere. I feel sorry for all of you.
Well, in the meantime, he's going to be back here right again tomorrow, same time,
Sir.
same place, 9 o'clock, Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. In the meantime, you can switch over to Fox 5 DC and get updates on all of the stories we talked about tonight and more. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Take care, everybody.